The alarm bells rang through the Galactic Defense Academy like thunder. Red lights flashed in every hallway. Students from 100 different worlds stopped what they were doing and looked up at the ceiling speakers. Emergency meeting. All staff to the main conference room. This is not a drill. Admiral Zexstar, the Academy's headmaster, walked quickly down the metal corridors. His 6 legs clicked on the floor. Behind him, teachers and commanders from 20 different alien species hurried to keep up. Everyone looked worried. In the main conference room, a huge hologram screen flickered to life. The image was fuzzy at first, then became clear. A tall, blue-skinned alien woman appeared. She had 4 arms and was covered in battle scars. Her uniform was torn and dirty. Her eyes looked tired, like she had not slept in weeks. "This is Admiral Dissis of the Veltharian Coalition," she said. Her voice shook with exhaustion. "We need help. We need it now." The room fell silent. Everyone knew about the war between the Coalition and the Kethrock Empire. It had been going on for 10 years. Millions had died. Whole planets had been destroyed. Admiral Dissis continued speaking. "The Kethrock Empire has built something new. They call it the Death Spiral. It is a massive space station, bigger than our biggest cities. It has weapons that can destroy entire planets. And it has shields that nothing can break through." She paused and took a deep breath. "We have tried everything. Our best soldiers, our smartest generals, our most powerful weapons. Nothing works. The Death Spiral learns from every attack we make. Its shields get stronger each time we try to hurt it." On the screen behind her, images appeared. The Death Spiral looked like a giant metal wheel spinning in space. It was covered in weapon ports and shield generators. Around it, hundreds of smaller Kethrock ships moved like angry insects. "In 6 hours, the Death Spiral will reach Velthera, Prime, my homeworld. 4 billion people live there. Men, women, children. If we cannot stop this weapon, they will all die." Admiral Zexstar leaned forward in his chair. "Admiral Dissis, we understand your situation, but our academy is a school. We train soldiers, but we are not an army. What can we do that your own forces cannot?" Admiral Dissis looked directly at the camera. "We need new ideas. For 10 years, we have fought this war the same way everyone fights wars. Big ships shooting at other big ships, strong shields blocking powerful weapons. But it is not working. The Kethrock are always one step ahead of us." She gestured with all 4 of her arms. "You have students from many worlds at your academy. Different species think in different ways. Maybe one of them can see something we cannot see." In the back of the room, Commandant Zoreth raised one of his tentacles. He was old, even for his species. He had taught military strategy for over 200 years. "Admiral Dissis," he said slowly, "most of our students follow the same basic principles of war. Attack the enemy's weak points. Protect your own weak points. Use superior force to win. These are the same ideas your own military uses." "Then we are doomed," Admiral Dissis said quietly. Commandant Zoreth's tentacles wiggled. This meant he was thinking hard. "Wait, there is one group of students who do not think like the others. They come from a world called Earth. Their species calls itself humans. They are ... unusual." Admiral Zexstar's compound eyes focused on Zoreth. "Unusual? How?" "Humans come from what we call a death world. Their planet tried to kill them every day for millions of years. Earthquakes, storms, predators, diseases, ice ages. Most species would have died out, but humans survived by learning to think differently. They solve problems in ways that make no sense to other species." Admiral Dissis leaned closer to her camera. "Are you saying these humans might be able to help us?" "I am saying they might see solutions that we cannot see," Zoreth replied. "But I must warn you, they are only students. They have not even graduated yet. The oldest one is barely 25 Earth years old." "How many are there?" 4, 2 males and 2 females. Admiral Dissis was quiet for a long moment. In the background, explosions could be heard. The war was still going on while they talked. "Bring them to me," she said finally. "If experienced generals cannot save my people, maybe young humans can. At this point, we have nothing left to lose." Admiral Zexstar touched a button on his desk. "Security, Please locate the human exchange students and bring them to Conference Room 1 immediately." "Sir," came the reply. "They are currently in Professor Kyoth's advanced physics class. Pull them out. This is priority 1. While they waited, Admiral Deathworlder told them more about the death spiral. The station rotates once every 30 minutes. Its shields cover every possible angle of attack. We have tried hitting it with plasma, cannons, missile volleys, even ramming it with unmanned ships. Nothing works. The shields learn and adapt within minutes." "What about the crew?" asked Commander Veltar. "How many Kethrak soldiers are on board?" "Intelligence estimates 50,000 warriors, plus support staff. The station is like a small city floating in space. It has factories, living quarters, training facilities. The Kethrak have been planning this attack for years." The conference room doors opened with a soft hiss. 4 young humans walked in, looking confused and slightly worried. They had been pulled out of class without explanation. The first was Taman, a young man with short black hair and intelligent eyes. He was known throughout the academy for his love of ancient Earth strategy games and his ability to see patterns that others missed. Next to him stood Hyjin, a woman with long black hair tied back in a practical ponytail. Her hands were always dirty from working in the engineering labs. She could build almost anything if you gave her enough spare parts and coffee. The third human was Dongwu, shorter than the others, but with quick, alert movements. He was the best pilot at the academy, even though he had only been flying spaceships for 2 years. His reflexes were so fast that they sometimes broke the testing equipment. The last was Subin, a woman with a friendly face and bright eyes. She spoke 17 different alien languages fluently and had a talent for making friends with species that had been enemies for centuries. All 4 humans looked around the room at the assembled alien officers. Then at the hologram of Admiral Dices. Said Timon. "Did we do something wrong?" Admiral Zexstar gestured toward the screen. "Cadets, meet Admiral Dices of the Veltharian Coalition. She needs your help." Admiral Dices studied the 4 young humans. They looked so small and young compared to the battle-hardened alien officers in the room, but Commandant Zorith had said they thought differently. Right now, different thinking was exactly what she needed. "Humans," she said, "to die, we have 6 hours before the Kethric Empire destroys my home world. Our military cannot stop them. Will you try?" The 4 humans looked at each other. Suben spoke first. "Of course we will try, but we are just students. What can we do? That your own soldiers cannot—" "I do not know, Admiral," Thesis admitted, "but you are our last hope." Taman stepped forward. "Tell us everything. We will need all the information you have." As Admiral Dices began to explain the situation in detail, the 4 humans listened. Carefully, they asked questions that surprised the alien officers. Questions about things that seemed unimportant. Questions about the Kethrak culture, their food, their families, their music. The alien officers wondered if the humans understood how serious this was. In 6 hours, 4 billion people would be dead. But the humans were already starting to think. And when humans started thinking, anything could happen. The 4 human cadets were moved to a secure briefing room. The walls were covered with screens showing star maps, battle plans, and data about the Kethrak Empire. Colonel Vexstar, a tall alien with purple skin and 3 eyes, stood at the front of the room. His job was to explain military situations to new officers. "Sit down," Colonel Vexstar said. "What I am about to show you is classified information, the highest level of military secrets." The humans sat in metal chairs that were too big for them. Most furniture in the academy was made for larger alien species. Timon had to stretch his feet to touch the floor. Colonel Vexstar touched a control. It showed the Death Spiral space station floating in the darkness of space. "This is your target," the colonel said. "The Death Spiral is the most dangerous weapon ever built. It is 5 kilometers wide and 2 kilometers thick. It rotates once every 30 minutes. The rotation helps power its weapons and shields. Hyjin, plasma cannons that can melt through any known metal. Missile launchers that can fire 1,000 rockets at once. Energy beams that can cut a battleship in half. But the weapons are not the real problem." The image zoomed in to show the shimmering energy field around the station. It looked like a soap bubble made of light, but the humans knew it was deadly. "The shields are adaptive," Colonel Vexstar continued. "They learn from every attack. When we shoot plasma at them, they become stronger against plasma. When we fire missiles, they learn to block missiles better. When we try energy weapons, they adapt to stop energy weapons. Like ramming it with a big ship. We tried that. The shields can stop physical objects too. We lost 3 cruisers trying. The shields just pushed them away, then vaporized them. Subin looked at the tactical displays on the walls. How many people are on the station? About 50,000 Kethrak warriors, plus 20,000 support crew. Engineers, cooks, medics, pilots. The station is like a floating city. Was studying the rotation pattern of the death spiral. Does it ever stop spinning? Never. The rotation is constant. It helps generate power for the shields and weapons. If it stopped spinning, the whole system would shut down. But there is no way to make it stop. They looked very small compared to the approaching death spiral. Our fleet will try to slow down the death spiral, Colonel Vextar said, but we can only delay it for a few hours. When it reaches optimal firing position above Velthora Prime, it will begin the bombardment. 4 billion people will die in less than 30 minutes. Hyejin looked confused. Why? Does it need to be in a specific position? It fires a beam of concentrated energy that can destroy an entire world, but the beam takes enormous power. The station must be in exactly the right position to focus all its energy into one shot. The tactical display showed a red circle around Velthora Prime. When the death spiral reached that circle, the planet would be doomed. How long do we have? Taman asked. Colonel Vextar checked his wrist computer. 5 hours and 37 minutes until the death spiral reaches firing position. The room fell silent. The humans stared at the images around them. 50,000 enemy soldiers, shields that could not be broken, weapons that could destroy planets, and they were just for students who had never been in a real battle. Colonel Subin said quietly, "Why are you telling us this? We are not generals or admirals. We are cadets. We have not even graduated from the academy yet, because normal military thinking has failed. For 10 years, our best strategists have tried to solve this problem. They have used every tactic in the military handbook. Nothing works. So, you want us to try because we do not know the military handbook. Sometimes not knowing the rules is an advantage." Hyejin stood up and walked closer to the hologram. She studied the death spiral from different angles. "What is this section here?" She pointed to a small area on the bottom of the station, waste disposal. The station produces garbage like any city. They have to get rid of it somehow. In this area, maintenance docks. Small ships go there for repairs. What about here? Food production. They have farms inside the station to feed 70,000 people. Taman joined Hyejin near the hologram. "Show us the shield generators." Colonel Vextar highlighted several areas on the station. The main generators are here, here, and here, but they are heavily protected. We have never been able to get close to them. What about backup generators? Scattered throughout the station? Even if we destroyed the main generators, the backups would keep the shields running. Subin was looking at different displays on the walls, their language, their customs, their daily life. Colonel Vextar looked surprised. "Why would you need that? This is a military problem, not a cultural one." "Maybe they are connected," Subin said. "To defeat an enemy, you need to understand them. We have some cultural files, but they are not very detailed." The Kethrak do not like to share information about themselves. Dongwu was studying the fleet positions. "How fast can your fastest ship go?" "Supply vessels? Much slower, 0.1 light speed at most. But they are not warships. They have no weapons or shields." The 4 humans looked at each other. They seemed to be having a silent conversation with their eyes. Finally, Taman turned back to Colonel Vextar. "We need access to your military database. All of it. Ship specifications, weapon capabilities, supply lists, everything. That is highly classified information. If you want us to think differently, we need to know what normal thinking looks like first." Colonel Vextar hesitated. "I will need permission from Admiral Zextar." "Then get it," Subin said. "We also need access to your fabrication facilities, the workshops where you build and repair equipment, and we need to talk to some Kethra prisoners," Dongwu added, "if you have any. We have a few captured pilots from recent battles, but they refuse to give us information." "That is okay," Subin smiled. "We do not want military information. We want to know about their families, their food, their music, personal things." Colonel Vextar looked more confused. I do not understand how this will help you destroy the death spiral. Taemin looked at the hologram one more time. Maybe we do not need to destroy it. You said the death spiral learns from attacks. It adapts to become stronger. So what if we do not attack it? Then how do you stop it? Hyjin grinned. We think of something it cannot learn to defend against. Like what? The four humans looked at each other again. They were starting to form an idea. It was crazy and impossible, and made no sense to anyone who understood normal military tactics. Give us access to everything you have, Taemin said. Ship blueprints, supply lists, cultural files, prisoner interviews, everything. And give us a workshop where we can build things, Hyjin added. How much time do you need? Colonel Vextar. 5 hours and 31 minutes should be enough. Colonel Vextar stared at them. These four young humans wanted to solve a problem in 5 hours that the galaxy's best military minds could not solve in 10 years. You're either brilliant or completely insane, he said. Subin laughed. Why not both? As Colonel Vextar left to get the necessary permissions, the four humans gathered around the hologram of the death spiral. They began to plan something that no military academy in the galaxy would ever teach, something that just might work. 2 hours later, the Academy's fabrication facility looked like a tornado had hit it. Hyjin stood in the middle of the chaos, covered in grease and metal dust. Around her, robotic arms welded pieces of equipment together while she shouted instructions in 3 different languages. No, the frequency modulator goes on the left side, not the right. She called to a confused alien technician in the corner of the workshop. Taemin sat surrounded by holographic displays showing military tactics from 100 different worlds. But he was not looking at space battles. Instead, he studied ancient Earth conflicts. Wars fought with swords and horses. Battles won with tricks and clever ideas instead of superior firepower. The Trojan horse, he muttered to himself. Sometimes, the best way to attack a fortress is to not attack it at all. Dongwu was in the hangar bay, examining a small maintenance shuttle. The ship was old and slow, designed for routine repairs on space stations. It had no weapons, no shields, and barely enough power to fly from one planet to another. Perfect, he said, patting the shuttle's hull. Nobody would ever think this. Little thing was dangerous. Subin had spent the last 2 hours in the prisoner holding area. She sat across from Kexel, a captured Kethric pilot. He was tall and covered in thick gray fur. His species looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard. I will not tell you military secrets, Kexel growled for the 20th time. I do not want military secrets, Subin replied in perfect Kethrock. I want to know about your family. Kexel's eyes widened in surprise. Very few aliens could speak his language so well. Tell me about your home, Subin continued. What does it look like? What kind of food do you eat? What songs do your children sing? Despite himself, Kexel began to talk. He told Subin about his mate and his 3 cubs. He described the beautiful forests of his homeworld and the traditional music his people had played for thousands of years. We are not monsters, he said quietly. We just want to protect our families. I know, Subin said. Humans want to protect their families too. Meanwhile, in the main conference room, Admiral Dices watched the countdown timer with growing despair. 3 hours and 15 minutes until the death spiral reached firing position. Her fleet was fighting desperately to slow down the massive station, but they were losing ships every minute. Any word from the human cadets? She asked Admiral Zexstar. They are working, but I do not understand what they are building. The supply requests make no sense. Musical instruments, garbage containers, industrial fabrication equipment, and food. Synthesizers, musical instruments. Apparently, the human female needs them for her device. She will not explain what the device does. Admiral Vises rubbed her temples with all 4 hands. We are putting our hope in 4 students who are building something with musical instruments and garbage. It sounds insane when you say it like that. Admiral, it is insane, but insanity might be exactly what we need. Back in the workshop, Hyjin was putting the finishing touches on her creation. It looked like nothing anyone had ever seen before. Part machine, part musical instrument, part industrial equipment. Cables and wires connected dozens of different components in patterns that defied logic. Will it work? asked Professor Kylth, the Academy's chief engineer. I have no idea, Hai-Jin admitted cheerfully, but that is what makes it interesting. Taemin joined them, carrying a data pad full of strategic plans. I think I know how to get close to the death spiral without being detected. How we disguise ourselves as something they expect to see, something so boring and normal that they will ignore us completely. Dong-Woo appeared in the doorway of the workshop. The shuttle is ready. I have programmed it to broadcast maintenance, codes, and garbage disposal schedules. Anyone who scans us will think we are just cleaning up space junk. Subin entered the workshop with Kexel following behind her. The Kethrock pilot looked around at the strange device Hai-Jin had built. What is that? He asked in his own language. Subin translated his question for the others, then explained what they were planning. As she spoke, Kexel's expression changed from confusion to amazement. You want to do what? He asked. End the war, Subin said. Simply, all of it. Today, Kexel was quiet for a long moment. It might work, he said finally. But it is the most dangerous thing I have ever heard of. Dangerous how? Taemin asked. Subin translated the question. Kexel's answer made all for humans smile. He says it is dangerous because it might actually bring peace. The death spiral filled the view screen like a metal mountain floating in space. Its weapons glowed with deadly energy as coalition ships exploded around it. The massive station was unstoppable, cutting through the defending fleet like a knife. Through paper dot inside the death spiral's command center, General Krax watched the battle with satisfaction. He was a veteran warrior, covered in scars from 100 battles. His thick gray fur was marked with the symbols of his rank and achievements. How long until we reach firing position? He asked his weapons officer. 53 minutes, General. The planet cracker will be ready to fire. Good. After 10 years of war, we will finally have victory. But General Krax felt no joy. He was tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of watching his soldiers die. Tired of being away from his family. The war had cost both sides too much, far below the death spiral. A small maintenance shuttle drifted through the debris of destroyed ships. Its hull was dented and dirty. Its engines were so old they barely worked. To anyone watching, it looked like just another piece of space junk. Inside the shuttle, Dong-Woo gripped the controls with steady hands. Death Spiral Traffic Control, this is Maintenance Shuttle 77 Alpha, requesting permission to dock for waste disposal. The reply came quickly. 77 Alpha, you are cleared for docking bay. Make it quick. We are in the middle of a battle. Copy that. Control. Just doing our job. Beside him, Hai-Jin made final adjustments to her device. The machine hummed quietly, its various components glowing with soft light. Are you sure this will work? Dong-Woo whispered. Absolutely not, Hai-Jin whispered back. But that is what makes it fun. In the back of the shuttle, Taemin and Subin prepared for the most important conversation of their lives. Subin checked her translation equipment one more time. Remember, Taemin said, we are not trying to defeat them. We are trying to understand them. The shuttle docked with the Death Spiral's waste disposal bay. The area was dimly lit and smelled like garbage, perfect for their plan. Dong-Woo stayed with the shuttle while the others moved deeper into the station. They found a maintenance shaft that led to the central communication array. Hai-Jin connected her device to the station's internal systems. Ready? She asked. Subin took a deep breath. Ready? The device activated. Throughout the death spiral, something impossible began to happen. The station's waste recycling system, its food processors, its air circulation fans, even its garbage compactors began to work together. They created vibrations that traveled through the metal hull of the station. The vibrations formed a pattern, a rhythm. Music. In the command center, General Krax paused as the sound reached his ears. It was faint at first, barely noticeable above the noise of battle, but it grew stronger. What is that sound? He asked. His communications officer looked confused. I do not know, General. It seems to be coming from everywhere. The music was hauntingly beautiful. It used the harmonic frequencies that Kethrock mothers sang to their cubs, melodies that spoke of home, family, and peace. Across the death spiral, Kethrock warriors stopped what they were doing and listened. Many began to cry. The music reminded them of everything they had left behind to fight this war. Then voice joined the music, broadcast through every speaker on the station. Attention, warriors of the Kethrock Empire. My name is Subin. I am human. I know you are tired. The entire station went silent. Even the weapon systems paused as crews stopped, firing to listen. I know you miss your families, Subin continued in perfect Kethrak. I know you want to go home. I know you are sick of this war that has taken so much from all of us. In the command center, General Krax stared at the communication panel. Who is this? How did they get on our frequency? I do not know, sir. The signal is coming from inside the station. Subin's voice was calm and gentle. We have been listening to your communications, not your military plans, but your personal messages, your letters to your families, your complaints about the food and the long hours, your sadness about friends who have died. Throughout the death spiral, Kethrak soldiers looked at each other with surprise. Someone had been listening to their private conversations, but instead of using that information as a weapon, this human was showing them compassion. You are not monsters, Subin said. You are soldiers doing your duty. Just like the coalition forces, you are fighting. Just like my human friends and I would do if our homes were threatened. General Krax opened a communication channel. Human, how did you get aboard my station? We came in a garbage shuttle, Subin replied honestly. We brought music and friendship instead of weapons. Music and friendship will not stop this war. Maybe not, but they might help us understand why we are fighting it. The music continued to play throughout the death spiral. Hygen's impossible device had turned the entire station into a massive musical instrument. Every piece of machinery, every ventilation shaft, every metal support beam vibrated in harmony. The sound was not just heard, it was felt. The vibrations traveled through the deck plates and into the bodies of everyone aboard. Kethrak physiology was particularly sensitive to these frequencies. The music triggered deep emotional responses that had been suppressed by years of war. In the weapon control room, Lieutenant Vexstar stopped targeting coalition ships. Tears rolled down his furry face as he remembered his daughter's laughter. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Curtin sat down and put his head in his hands. The music reminded him of his mate's voice, singing him to sleep. In the fighter bay, dozens of pilots climbed out of their ships and just listened. For the first time in years, they were not thinking about killing. They were thinking about living. Subin continued her broadcast. General Krax, may I ask you a question? The general hesitated. This was not how military communications were supposed to work. But nothing about this situation was normal. What is your question, human? Why did this war start? The question seemed simple, but General Krax found it hard to answer. The coalition was preparing to invade our space. We had to defend ourselves. How did you know they were going to invade? Our intelligence services detected military buildup along our borders, ships, weapons, defensive positions. From the coalition flagship, Admiral Novices listened to the conversation. With growing amazement, she opened her own communication channel. General Krax, this is Admiral Novices. We built those defenses because our intelligence said you were preparing to attack us. A long silence followed. The two commanders who had been trying to kill each other for 10 years were talking directly for the first time. You built defenses because you thought we would attack, General Krax asked. Yes, and you attacked because you thought we would attack first. Yes, Subin's voice cut through the awkward silence. So you've been fighting a war for 10 years because both sides were afraid the other side would start a war. Neither commander answered immediately. The truth was too embarrassing to admit. Tay-Min joined the conversation. Admiral, I am Tay-Min. I study military history. Do you know how many wars have started exactly like this? Two sides preparing to defend themselves, each thinking the other was the aggressor. Too many? Admiral Novices said quietly. Hundreds, General Krax admitted, maybe thousands. Throughout both fleets, soldiers listened to the conversation. Coalition and Kethrak forces heard their commanders talking instead of fighting. The music continued to play, creating a bridge between two peoples who had forgotten they were not so different. Hygen's device began to change its output. Instead of just playing Kethrak music, it started blending human melodies with alien harmonies. The result was something entirely new, a song that spoke to the shared experiences of all intelligent life. This is impossible, whispered the Death. Spiral's chief engineer, how is she making our own machinery play music? Subin heard the question and answered it. My friend Hyjin is very good at making broken things work together. She thinks maybe broken people can work together too. General Krax made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. Human Subin, what do you want? To end this war. Right now. Today. All of it. That is impossible. There are treaties, politics, military contracts. Wars do not just end because someone asks nicely. Taemin spoke up. General, you have been fighting for 10 years. How is that? Working out for you? The question hit harder than any weapon. General Krax looked around his command center at the tired faces of his crew. They had all lost friends, family, years of their lives to this conflict. Not well, he admitted. Then, maybe it is time to try something different. In the main conference room of the Galactic Defense Academy, dozens of alien officers watched the impossible unfold. The Death Spiral, the most feared weapon in the galaxy, had stopped firing. Its crew was talking to their enemies instead of killing them. This is unprecedented, Admiral Zexstar said. In 3,000 years of recorded galactic history, no one has ever stopped a war by playing music. Commandant Zorith's tentacles wiggled with amusement. Humans do not read history books. They make new history. On the view screen, they could see both fleets maintaining their positions, but no longer firing at each other. The Death Spiral drifted. In space, its weapons powered down. General Krax's voice came through the speakers. Admiral Dissis, I propose a temporary ceasefire. 1 hour to discuss terms. Agreed, Admiral Dissis replied. But I want the human cadets to mediate our conversation. Why? Because they are the only ones who have made sense today. Subin accepted the responsibility with typical human confidence. We would be honored to help. But first, I want to ask both of you a question. What do you really want from this war? General Krax answered first. I want my people to be safe. I want to protect our worlds from invasion. Admiral Dissis, I want the same thing, safety for my people, an end to the killing. Then you both want the same thing, Taemin pointed out. You want peace, but we cannot trust each other, General Krax said. How do we know the other side will not attack when we lower our defenses? Hyjin had been quiet for most of the conversation, but now she spoke up. What if you do not lower your defenses? What if you point them at a different enemy? What enemy? War itself. The statement was so simple it sounded stupid, but the more they thought about it, the more sense it made. Subin explained the idea. Instead of fighting each other, you fight the things that cause wars: misunderstandings, fear, lack of communication, resource shortages, territory disputes. You want us to become allies? Admiral Dissis asked. We want you to become neighbors, Dongwu said. Good neighbors help each other. They do not try to kill each other. Over the next hour, something miraculous happened. The two commanders, with help from the human cadets, began to solve problems that had seemed impossible just hours before. The Ketheric Empire needed new colonies because their home worlds were overcrowded. The coalition had dozens of empty planets that were perfect for colonization. Instead of fighting over territory, they could share it. The coalition needed rare minerals for their technology. The Kethrak had mining expertise and plenty of those minerals. Instead of hoarding resources, they could trade them. Both sides had been spending enormous amounts of money on weapons and warships. That money could be used for schools, hospitals, and exploration instead of destruction. It is so simple, General Krax said with wonder. Why did we not think of this before? Because you were too busy trying to kill each other, Taemin replied. It is hard to have a conversation when someone is shooting at you. The music from Hyjin's device gradually faded away, but its effects lingered. Throughout both fleets, soldiers looked at their former enemies and saw fellow beings who just wanted to go home to their families. Admiral Dissis checked her chronometer. 57 minutes and 32 seconds since the humans began their mission. They had 60 minutes to end a 10-year war, and they finished with time to spare. General Krax opened a fleet-wide communication channel. All Kethrock forces, this is General Krax. The war is over. We are going home. Across the galaxy, news of the peace spread quickly. The impossible had happened. For human cadets had ended a decade-long war in less than an hour, using garbage, music, and conversation. In the Academy's conference room, Admiral Zexstar looked at the 4 young humans with amazement. How did you know it would work? We did not, Hyjin admitted, but humans have a saying. The best way to make peace is to understand your enemy so well that they stop being your enemy, Subin added. Plus, Dongwu owed me 20 credits that our plan was too crazy to work. Dongwu grinned and handed her the money. Best 20 credits I ever lost. Taemin looked at the countdown timer, which now showed 57 minutes, 32 seconds. We had time to spare. The alien officer stared at these 4 Deathworlder cadets who had just rewritten the rules of warfare. They were beginning to understand that humans were called Deathworlders not because they were violent, but because they were so unpredictable that they could make impossible things seem routine. The war was over. The real victory was not crushing the enemy. It was realizing there did not need to be an enemy at all. 6 months later, the 4 human cadets graduated with full honors and were immediately recruited by the newly formed Galactic Peace Corps. Their mission: travel to conflict zones across the galaxy and end wars through the most dangerous weapon in the human arsenal. Creative thinking combined with genuine compassion, the Battle of Velthora Prime became required reading at military academies throughout the galaxy. Most alien strategists still could not understand how it worked, but every human who read the report just smiled. It was the most human thing ever, turning garbage into music, enemies into friends, and war into peace.